goes, how old are you? I said, I don't know, 45 at the time. He goes, you're 45 years old, you got a Rambo lunchbox. All right, look, I'll sign it, but there's something wrong with you. And there's a picture of him I have of him signing it, and he looks up like,
Hey, all you cool cats. Ready for a little fun? That's what I thought. Pop Talk, Scooby-Doo-Wah-Doo-Wah, Pop Talk. The fun never stops, you know, Pop Talk. If you're a nerd or a jock, run, don't just walk. Get ready to rock, you got Pop Talk.
Now, from Funko Hollywood, it's time for Pop Talk.
What's up, Funko fanatics? It's me, Jason B. Look, you guys know I'm a hardcore DC Comics fan, and my next guest absolutely needs no introduction, but I'm going to do so anyway, just because of the profound nature and performance of this person. So, 154 episodes of Smallville, over 50 plus episodes of Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. It is Lex Luthor, it is Wally West, it's a host of other things, right sitting across from me, across the table right now. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Michael Rosenbaum.
thanks, man.
No, it's nothing. If anything, like I said, before we kind of got this whole thing going, I am stupidly excited about having you across the table.
I didn't believe you at first.
Oh,
I was
it's
like,
true.
he says this to everybody. But then I realized all these Funkos are all Lex Luthors.
It's true.
They're
It's true.
all bald.
That's all we make here at Funko is Lex Luthor pop.
Yeah.
Honestly, we could probably be in that business and do okay. I want to start with a couple softballs just to kind of get us warm a little
Throw
bit
it.
today. So the first is just kind of one I love to ask of all of our guests. You were born in Oceanside, New York, but more specifically raised in Newburgh, Indiana.
Yep.
What is something you can only get in your hometown of
Newburgh, Indiana.
Yeah.
Well, you can get a Pizza King Stromboli.
What is a Pizza King Stromboli?
I'm telling you, it's just this little place, mom and pa store, and they've been making Stromboli. You know what a Stromboli is?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, if you don't know what a Stromboli is, but go to Newburgh, Indiana and get yourself a Strom. That's what we used to do. When I go home, the first thing I do is get off the plane, and I go straight to either there or Noble Romans, because their breadsticks are to die for.
Holy cow. Okay,
Yeah.
so what is Noble Romans then?
Noble Romans is another pizza place, but you get your Strom at Pizza King, and then you go to Noble Romans for some breadsticks and cheese. Their cheese is just delicious, the dipping stuff. And it's funny enough, my sister's, was it her second or fourth husband? Anyway, he worked at Noble Romans, and one day I just wrote him a check. I go, here's a check for $1,000, man. I want one of those Noble Romans light fixtures. And he goes, all right. And 6 months later, he left, and I got 2 of those sent in boxes.
Amazing.
And I put one in the gazebo outside, one in the office.
Still hanging today.
Oh yeah, it's still there. I probably got a picture on my phone.
I love it.
Yeah.
So does that mean by definition you are a pizza guy? Like is pizza your jam?
I do love a good pizza. You know, we were having this conversation the other night, like your favorite fast food pizza. You know, when I say fast food,
Yeah,
like
chain stuff.
chain stuff. And what's yours? Out of all the ones out there,
Okay, honestly, I do this once a year.
on the count of 4, it's 1, 2, 3, and we say it.
Okay.
You're gonna say your favorite fast food pizza joint chain. 1, 2, 3. Pizza Hut.
Right?
Yours too, you guys? There's something about the taste and the softness of the bread and I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna get a Pizza Hut right after this.
It's like that
they should sponsor us
spongy-
now.
I know.
We should be sponsored by them.
Pizza Hut has big news for cheese lovers. Right now, get a large cheese lovers pizza for only $9.99.
So Michael, we're gonna kind of throw the challenge at you here.
Okay.
Here on the show, you know, we've got a whole host of pop yourself parts right in front of you. Everything from heads to torsos to buddies in one of the buckets. You are at your discretion to create whomever you'd like. We just want you to create someone. It can be you, it can be a friend, it can be somebody imaginary. And we do this twofold. One, because we want to have a memento for ourselves after the fact. And 2, we really want to kind of distract you as we throw all these hardball questions your way, just to make sure we really get to the meat and potatoes of who you are.
Okay.
Cool.
I think I found my eyes. You know, what if I tried to make a Lex Luthor?
You can totally do that. You just don't have to use a hairpiece.
Yeah, because I didn't. Are these actually all the hair pieces you can get on any Funko?
No,
There's
have
many
We have many
more.
dozens. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. All right. So you did mention earlier that you are the host and creator of the Inside of You podcast. What was the genesis of that project, and really what drives you? Is it really getting to know your friends more, getting to know strangers more? Like, what is that human compulsion that keeps that project going?
Well, you know, it started out because one of my friends said, "You got a great voice, man. You should have a podcast and make money." Well, I realized quickly that you don't make a lot of money from podcasts, in the beginning especially. And, you know, there were times when I wanted to quit, and I interview celebrities, but I started to open up and become more vulnerable and just real and talk about my life and self-deprecating. And then people started to listen. And it was the more honest you are. And so I think people gravitate towards that. And I think the guests that come, I sort of, you know, I'm not just throwing questions at, I'm not being another celebrity. I'm sort of a fan. I am a fan. I was a fan before I became anybody. I was going to horror conventions and all that stuff. So I read Fangoria. I have hundreds of Fangoria magazines. And I love that. So I wanted it to feel like it's an interview that people listening would go, I would ask that question. That's what I want to know. Like, you know, I asked James Gunn, president of DC, and I think it's got like 700,000 or 800,000 downloads already. It's going great, and I'm really happy. But I said, what's the difference between Marvel and DC? Like, just as a regular person who doesn't, like, what is it? Like, because they're both, you know, it's like, oh, superheroes, and then what makes them differentiates one from another? And you know, but I also like to talk about, James opened up about when he was, you know, he was fired, you know, that big thing.
Yeah.
And he talked about how his friends, you know, it got a little emotional. And so guests come in, Stephen Amell, who was the Arrow, he had an anxiety attack on the podcast. Says a lot about me, huh? But anyway, you know, but like people really open up, and it helps so many people, like mental health wise. And so I've fallen in love with it. I found purpose in this podcast inadvertently. And I do another podcast with Tom Welling, who played Clark Kent, and that's called Talkville.
Yeah.
And we go over every episode, we watch it, and then we review it. And I hadn't seen most of them. And
Ever? Like, you hadn't even watched them?
No. Most of them I haven't seen. So I was like, dude, that's the ship key? He's like, yeah, how do you not know this? I go, I don't know, I just didn't care. I mean, I cared, but you know. Yeah, it's really fun, and we've got a nice following there. And I never thought I would be doing this, like doing like the whole interview thing.
Yeah.
And when I put those headphones on, because I got ADD and I'm all over the place. But when you put those headphones on, I am just like, boom.
Yeah.
I just want to know all about you. I'm so interested. And we go down rabbit holes, and it's playful and it's emotional. And so I hope more people listen, because it's one of those things where when I was at cons in the beginning, I'd say, you got to listen to my podcast. People are like, oh, okay. Can you just sign this to, like, they didn't care. And now I don't even talk about it. And people come up to me at the cons and say how much it's helped them. And it's just a cool thing.
Already done, huh?
Well, I decided to make Lex Luthor cool. So he's not
Lex
wearing.
Luthor's already
Lex
cool,
Coulthor.
let's be real.
Lex Coulthor, folks. You want to see that?
I like it. Do you want to give any buddies or friends to Lex Coulthor? There are, like, I know you don't like cats. Cats aren't a thing, but we do have dogs, and
oh yeah, you have
that kind of
dogs,
goodness, right?
Oh, look at that! Look at that guy.
Coulthor seems like he'd have a host.
Coulthor.
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah, I like that.
Oh,
I
I play hockey.
Yeah, nice.
So why doesn't he have a hockey stick? He could also beat the shit out of someone. Can you say?
You can, yeah.
All right, you'll cut it, but
We'll bleep it.
look at that.
Yeah.
Lex Coulthor with a hockey stick. You want to mess with me? I am the villain of the story. See that?
He's cool. I dig it.
Look at that.
I dig it. All right, so Michael,
amazing.
let's dive a little bit deeper.
Dude, dive.
You moved from Indiana ultimately to New York to pursue acting.
I
but what was
graduated
that-
college in Kentucky, and then I moved my mentor, the head of the department. I said, hey, should I go to grad school? Because I wasn't a really good student or whatever. He goes,
Sure.
I think you're ready. Go to New York. So I went to New York.
But what was the performance of another actor, stage, screen, or otherwise, where you were like, yep, that's for me?
I think it's hard to answer that question, because when I was growing up, I was, let's just say I was a bit of an outcast. I never went to a high school dance, no prom, no Santa switch, whatever they call it, nothing. Sure. I spent my weekends either babysitting my brother or up in my room watching old horror movies and using my parents' VCR connected to mine to copy movies, thinking, oh, this is a good idea. We know what happened to VHS tapes. And so I was sort of like, I lived in this world. This was when I, watched Jack Nicholson in The Shining. And I would start to, my mind would go and I'd memorize and I'd listen to his voice and I'd be so captivated. And there was always that feeling that I had to, I was always filming everything. I knew I wanted to be an actor. I mean, I don't know if I really knew what I wanted to do, but I was obsessed with movies and making little movies. And like a little horror movie I made as a 14-year-old kid with my family, it's atrocious. Yeah. And it's just like killing my mom, and then I killed my grandma, and you can see her go, she's laughing as I kill her. I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with, but I was so nervous. I was so nervous, I didn't have the confidence. And I did this play, and one of the popular kids, when I was walking down the hallway, just goes, "Hey, you were really funny in that show last night." And I was like, wow. And there was something about it, and the more I did plays and things like that, I just got that excitement. But I think performance is like, Jack Nicholson in The Shining, like, "Wendy, darling, light of my life, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in, Wendy. I'm gonna bash them right the in, Wendy." So stuff like that. I would go downstairs and I would, to my friends, I would do Fire Marshal Bill from
in living color.
Yes, and I would do, Nicholson, and I would do Walken, and I would do all the characters from Saturday Night Live, and I just knew there was something inside of me that had that innate feeling to perform, to entertain, and I'm obsessed with movies, mostly horror movies.
I want to ask a little further about horror, because this clearly is a theme of today's conversation, and ultimately was a building block in young Michael, right? Seems to be a consistent block today. I mean, you're even wearing the Horror Nights jacket at the moment,
Universal Horror
right?
Nights, yep.
So what is it about horror? Are you a comfort horror guy? Like, what is it about the medium? Is it the scrappiness of the storytelling? Is it that you can practically do anything? It is a multi-purpose touch, it touches.
Good question. Why do I like horror? I think I like horror the way people like rides at like Disneyland or Disney World. I get an adrenaline rush when something really scares me, when it's really effective, albeit psychological or paranormal. Yeah. I'm not into gore as much. I like some gore if it's funny, like Evil Dead and Return of the Living Dead. But there's something just really funny and sort of escapist thing for me there. I love comedies, but I just don't think they make many good comedies anymore. The old days when like Arthur with Dudley Moore and the Slapshot, and I just don't feel like there's a lot of comedies made these days, good comedies. I'm gonna get killed for that one. But I don't know, the horror thing, what I think it comes from also is that when I was 8 years old, I got home from school and I saw 2 VHS tapes on the counter, and it was Make Them Die Slowly and Motel Hell. And I go, "What the hell is this, Mom?" And she's like, "Oh, you're gonna watch those with me. Your father hates horror movies." So she forces her 8-year-old son, child abuse, to watch Motel Hell and Make Them Die Slowly. And we started that's how I got into the horror. She liked horror, and so I would start watching it, and that's how I got into it. If she would have said, "Oh my God, there's this musical, let's watch that together," I probably would have been like, "I'm singing in the rain." But that was that was my calling, I guess, was sort of horror movies.
So mother is at the heart of your horror, just like Norman Bates.
Yeah.
It really seems to me like you are playing a comparable part in the lives of your friends who have effectively become family to you. Do you recognize that you've become sort of that nucleus or a support system in that way?
Yeah, a friend of mine, I talked to James, who's a close friend of mine, James Gunn, and we were talking about this. We talked about it on the podcast, but he said something like, when he was giving a speech at his wedding, he said something like, I was around good people and friends and family, and I knew intelligently or intellectually that they loved me, that they loved me, but I never felt it.
Sure.
And so it's when you start to feel that and accept it and just say, "I'm worth it," because I think for a long time I was like, nah, come on. Yeah, I'm on a show. Of course you love me. Yeah, or I'm this, or I'm that, or I'm paying for dinner, or
Yeah.
you know, you love me. Of course you love me. And then one day you got to be like, no, these people, they have my back. They care about me. They don't care about that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and you know it. It's something you feel.
Yeah.
And that's important. And that's one of the things we talk about on the podcast. I think a lot is self-worth. Is like going, hey, you are good enough. And if, you know, some people have shame, they're, you know, this, you just gotta, like, this is you. This is the only life you're given as far as we know. So you just have to push through that and just accept it. Or your whole life, you're gonna be, you know, not loving yourself, and I'm working on it. It's not like I look in the mirror and I go, oh, hell yeah, I love you, dude. You are awesome. I mean, for a while, I wouldn't even look at myself in the mirror. People are like, hey man, you got shit on your teeth. But, you know, I just, I think that's important. And I think surrounding yourself with good people and just trying to make someone's day better every day. That's what I try to do, is make someone else's day a little bit better. How do you do that? It's easy. There's a million ways. How about, hey, how's it going? How are you doing today?
Sure.
Are you done soon? Or like, you'll get, just instead of like, I'll take the latte, like, no, I don't want that. Yeah, great. There's no connection. It's just like, give me. But if you could just stop for a second and just say, how are you? You know, I talked to someone online on the Marriott hotels like an hour ago. I was like, hey, you've been really freaking helpful. Thanks so much. She's like, oh, well, you're welcome. I just, you know, I felt like, you know, I wanted to tell her that. So I don't know if it helps her, but, you know, it's easy to be nice. It's harder to be an I'm sure I've gone through stages where I'm like a bit of a
Sure.
Didn't know myself, insecurity, we all go through it, but I think that when you find that, hey, let's try to make other people happy. Let's try to, you know, it'll make you happier. No.
All right, we're gonna keep going just
Keep
a little
going.
bit. There's
No.
surface level stuff, and that's fun, but I love how it prompts further conversation. So
Yeah.
we talked about AMC.
You got serious. I didn't think you would get serious.
Of course, we're gonna get serious. We take your opportunity to be here very seriously. So
Do those pants match?
they can.
I'm making my friend Chris right now.
To answer your
As Lex
question
Luthor.
about Chris, yes, the pants match the shirt, so not to worry there. What was the last movie that kept you on the edge of your seat as a filmmaker yourself?
Last movie that kept me on the edge of my seat. You know what I liked? Horror-wise, if you're a horror fan out there, I would say Watcher. It's this woman who moves to Hungary or Romania with her husband, and she notices someone staring at her from across the building, and it's just a really creepy story. And then there's one called Speak No Evil. Freaking one of the best movies of the year. So intense. The end will have you just floored. Speak No Evil. I think it's free on like Shudder. I'm on horror Shudder. Or Netflix. But in the theaters, Air I thought was really good. I didn't think it was the best movie ever, but it was good. What else? I saw Evil Dead Rise. I thought that was kind of fun. And I'm a sort of a horror, like, what's the word? Like
Aficionado.
I know I'm really like, I don't like a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a critic.
Sure.
And I was like, that was enjoyable. That was fun. It was gory, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. So.
I love the humility in the room because...
Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
There we go. Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Yeah, that was. Yeah, James did a great job at that. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Yeah. That was your second time in a Guardians film, right?
Yes. Unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, it's just good to be part of it.
Yeah.
So that's my friend Chris as Lex Luthor, and that's me as Lex Luthor.
Is Chris naturally bald?
No, he's not bald at all.
Okay.
I just made him bald because Lex Luthor's bald.
You can do whatever you want in our universe.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great.
Cool.
But Martin X, the character I played, was one of the original Guardians in the comic books. Yeah. And so, the idea was to have a bigger place in the movies, and some stuff got cut out, but ultimately, we were going to see his powers and all these things, and it just didn't pan out. But I got top billing, and they paid me, and I was on set with some great people, and I had a great time. And Chris Pratt is he's just an amazing guy. Amazing guy. Talk about someone who's grounded. He's like the sweetest dude. Everybody was cool. Zoe, Karen Gillan, Batista, my buddy Sean Gunn. They were all awesome. Everybody was just a delight. Palm. It was just a fun set.
Yeah.
It was a really fun set. I was like jealous that I wasn't there more. But I got to work with Stallone on both movies. And Stallone, I remember I only had like a couple lines in the second one, and I remember we're in this room, and I have this line that I'm about to say. And Stallone is just like looking around, we're rolling camera, and I'm trying to focus not to mess up. And he's like, we're in a spaceship. And he goes, look at this. They got rust. Yeah, you think in space in the future they figure out a way to beat rust. And I'm like, Sly, would you shut the hell up? I got one damn line here. He goes, all right, look, take it easy, will you? He was just so fun to work with. I messed around with him all the time. I would sit there, I'd do an impression of him. He's like, hey, you do an impression of me? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you better do it good. I got him to sign my Rambo lunchbox. And he goes, how old are you? I said, I don't know, 45 at the time. He goes, you're 45 years old, you got a Rambo lunchbox. All right, look, I'll sign it, but there's something wrong with you. And there's a picture of him I have of him signing it, and he looks up like, you know, like he's like, what? But he was a lot of fun. He was a lot of fun.
You have a bit of an impression tell when, like, I can see you inhabiting the character before you even start speaking as Sly Stallone, right?
Yeah. Like I said, that little kid when I was young, I just would always. I did so many impressions. I have a good ear for that.
Yeah.
And it's just fun. It's fun to, you know, do a Rodney Dangerfield for, you know, folks, or, you know. Especially when you're around older people who get Rodney Dangerfield. So, you know, I could just jump into it and like, I'll tell you, no respect, I tell you. My wife told me to take out the trash. I said, you cooked it, you take it out. I went to the dentist, said I have yellow teeth. He said, get a brown tie.
Nothing. I joined Gamblers Anonymous. They gave me 2 to 1, I don't make it.
But you're in a band.
I am in a band.
Yeah.
Sunspin. The band is called Sunspin. I know a lot of you guys are thinking, oh, it's another actor's band, stick to acting.
You and Russell Crowe,
yeah.
right?
But I this is real. I really believe this is like good music, and I think people, it will surprise them.
Yeah. In what respect?
In respect that I think it's just like you can actually listen to it and you can drive, you know, it's good driving music. And
It's like yacht rock? Is that what?
No,
yeah,
it's sort of like if the 80s, 90s, 70s, and a little bit of today kind of collided. A little bit of that. So singer-songwriter, but then a little pop, synthesizer, 90s feel. We're just experimenting. I always, look, I didn't do music to become a rock star, obviously. I did it because I just love music so much, more than anything, probably more than acting. And I always go to concerts. I'm going to Tears for Fears. I just went to see The National. I went to see The Cure, Depeche Mode. I love music, and I was scared because I go, you don't sing like Adam Lambert, so you probably shouldn't do it. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Why don't you just make music because you love it, and who gives a if people listen to it or not?
Yeah.
If they like it, or as long as you like it. That's the thing. You got to do things. You have to have a passion.
Do you write any of the original music that you use in your respective podcasts?
Yeah, the song for Talksville, the opening song is the instrumental version of. That wasn't a good version, but it's called "What Are We Here For?"
Cool.
And you can listen to that song on the album. It's great.
So Michael, I teased at the start of the hour here that I'm a huge DC guy, so forgive me, I do have to kind of go there for just a hot minute, right?
Yep,
So
you can do it.
Again, as a recap for the audience, you have a profound DC legacy flying that blue and white. Specifically, Lex Luthor, of course, from Smallville.
Has a weakness, Clark. No matter how superhuman he may be.
Super icon, right? And then inversely, Wally West on the heroic end of the spectrum,
Yeah.
The Flash, for those who are unawares.
Because I'm the Flash, the fastest man alive.
But where does Michael Rosenbaum sit between those two characters? Are you more Wally? Are you more Lex?
Oh man, you know, I mean, I think I'm more of a goofball like Wally was. He just always wants to have fun. He's the life of the party. I think that everything was always, gloomy and dark with Batman. It's like, we're gonna all die.
It's a decent Kevin.
Was it?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of that. I mean, there's definitely a lot of darkness, I guess, from, just life and growing up and all that stuff that helped me portray Lex. And, but I'm glad. I don't think if I had those experiences, I would have been able to play the role so, as well as you say I played it.
Sure. I'm not standing alone here, right? There's a multitude of folks out there that genuinely believe, including your friend, Mr. James Gunn himself, that believe you are the definitive, certainly live action Lex Luthor, right? And I am a subscriber of that notion.
Thanks. Look, it's awesome to hear that. It really is. It's like, there's certainly a part of me that's like, oh yeah, Stan Lee, James Gunn, millions of people around the world. But then, you start reading comics, you're like, Gene Hackman's my favorite just because that's what I grew up with. Sure. But yeah, he played it a certain way. He only had an hour and a half to work with. I had 7 years to develop this character. Yeah. And so, I'm honored. I'm honored. I think it's cool.
All right, Michael, we've got a hot seat set of questions for you. So these are just gonna be rapid
fire.
fire. You can keep it to like a couple answers. You can keep it to a couple words, or we can go deep dark into your childhood trauma. It is your call.
Or I could say pass, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Pass.
So, favorite movie of all time?
Shining.
Okay, awesome. Shining it is. Favorite cartoon growing up and why?
Thundercats. Only because I used to sing the theme song to my mom. I called her Thunder, Thunder, Thunder Thighs. She goes, shut up! That's the only reason.
Favorite song of all time?
If you leave me now, you'll take away the biggest part of me. You know that song?
If you leave me now, you'll take away the biggest part of me.
It's sentimental, grandmother kind of thing, but I always remember that song. That's the song that comes to mind.
I love it. I love it. First car?
It doesn't count that I drove my dad's crap wagon. He had a Thunderbird, it was a stinker, it was called the dump car. I mean, he would take all the trash in it, so it smelled like but I would say my first car was probably a Ford EXP, and the alternator didn't work. Tom remembers that, and it was just a piece of crap.
First music you ever bought with your own money?
First music?
Yeah.
Like audio, like tape?
It could be a tape, could be a record.
I remember
no
it was
judgment.
Pyromania, Def Leppard.
Okay.
It's funny enough, my friend Tom and Ethan over there, they were walking into this bar to see my friend Rob play, who's in my band Sunspin. And Tom was wearing a Led Zeppelin shirt. Let me make that clear, Led Zeppelin. And this homeless guy just walked up and looked at his shirt and goes, Def Leppard sucks. And he goes, what? And he goes inside, and the guys later on told me about that. And I go, that's hilarious. And sure enough, I walk out at like 11:30, and I see this, I don't know if it's that homeless guy, but I see this homeless guy, and I just go in, Def Leppard rules! And he goes, Def Leppard sucks! And I got it on video somewhere. But I just think of that. But Pyromania, Def Leppard, first tape.
Favorite breakfast cereal growing up?
Oof. Peanut Butter Captain Crunch.
Favorite movie soundtrack of all time?
It's got to be Pulp Fiction. Or Reservoir Dogs. I love Reservoir Dogs soundtrack. Oh yeah, I love the Bee Gees.
On the Bee Gees front,
Okay.
would you say that is a musical group that you're into that would surprise fans at home, or is there something else in that closet that you'd like to reveal?
I think they'd be surprised. I don't know if they'd be surprised, but I definitely like some yacht rock. There's something about just chill out music from the 70s and 80s. A little Michael McDonald. I keep forgetting I'm not in love anymore. Just something that makes me it calms me.
Yeah.
I don't like when people are just jamming in their car to loud metal. I'm just like, God, how do they do it? Yeah. I don't
Pretty
know.
intense.
I got, I need something calming.
Well, I don't know about calming. This interview has absolutely been insane and so much fun
been great,
to hang
man.
out.
Thanks so much.
You have created Lex Luthor.
Lex
And your
Luthor.
buddy Eric?
Chris.
Chris, excuse me, your buddy Chris.
Yep.
We've also got, believe it or not, your own Lex Luthor pop straight out of Smallville.
Look at that.
We'd love to kind of just throw it in front of you for a second. If you could tell us just what is it like to be popped?
What would I say about this?
What is it like to see one of your characters?
It's just awesome. It's like, you know, I'd love to have my name on here, but
sure.
No,
Michael Rosenbaum.
No, but this is great. Smallville and Lex Luthor, and that was me. You know, this is me as a Funko. It's amazing. It's just really cool to have one of these. You know, I feel like I'm a part of something. I'm part of the cool club. Because you go and all these other guys have their Funkos and I got mine, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah, man. Well, you are definitely part of the Funko family, certainly for that, but absolutely for today. Again, thank you for hanging out. Michael, you've been awesome. Again, folks, give it up for Michael Rosenbaum.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks,
That was
man.
awesome.
That was awesome.